Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Today, me and my family went to Apple Blossom. We wanted to see the process of pollination from honeybees. When we reached there, we saw a man showing us a box full of honeybees, and in there was a honeybee crisps, and there was more ahead.
Yeah, you can look them up. Okay, even in the relocation. Oh yeah, you look them up. Okay, you land them.
When we were waiting for the blossom walk, there was a lot of rain, and we started getting hungry. So we wanted a snack. So we ate some oatmeal and raisin cookies, homemade, and personally it is the best one there. Then we started to color. They gave us some colors so we don't get bored while the rain was stopping. So for an activity, we were coloring a bee.
Take one, all the same. Just take one paper.
That we should be safe to go. So
Okay.
I'm just going to let the people inside the winery know, and
Okay.
we'll be on our way.
Okay, sure, thank you.
The rain stopped, so we went ahead to do the blossom walk.
If we hear thunder again, it's going to be a quick trip back down. So, but let's take our chances and.
After the weather was beautiful, and we started going to see the apple trees. He was explaining how honeybees are good in pollination, but bumblebees are the best in pollination.
How about my choice?
Okay, appreciate your patience, everybody. That's one thing we need to do to produce a crop every year if we can. But pollination is where we're at right now and what we're talking about. This is an apple tree, and these little flowers are called apple blossoms. And they're like other flowers in lots of other ways, but there's one big difference, and that's why we're talking about bees and we use this word pollination. And that is because, like other flowers, apple blossoms have these pretty little things called petals. And that's what attracts the bee to come to the middle of the flower where they can pick up pollen and nectar, take it back, feed their young, make honey out of it. So that's how it works. But the really strange thing is this flower has got lots of pollen on part of it. It's got a place for the pollen to go. These are sort of like the mummy parts and the daddy parts of the flower, and everything works out. The little babies turn into seeds, which eventually turns into an apple. But the thing that's strange about apple blossoms is that this pollen on this flower will not pollinate and make seeds in this flower. We need to have pollen from another variety of apple. And that's why we need bees. And the whole thing would be different if these were what we call self-fruitful. But because of that, we do a whole bunch of things, including renting bees, culturing bees who live in the orchard all year round. And it's all because, for some reason, Mother Nature decided a long, long time ago that this pollen wasn't good enough. They had to have it from somewhere else. So, doing that using any technique other than bees or other insects would be impossible job. You couldn't go around with a paintbrush and do that as an apple grower. You wouldn't get very far down the road before blossom was over. So that's what it's all about here. And the bees that do most of the work in the orchard are the bees that actually live here year round. Everybody probably knows what bumblebees look like. They are the supreme pollinators. They're big and they kind of vibrate when they fly. They spread pollen all over the place. They live in little holes underneath the trees in the orchard. There are probably 200 other types of bees that live here. They do a lot of the heavy lifting too. And the honeybees, which is the only type of bee that you can really manage. Honeybees are one of the few bees that are very schedule. They know when to do this and when to do that. I sometimes make a little joke and say that honeybees are like good husbands. They come home every night, every single night, and they go to work every day. And the joke is only half funny because most of the worker bees are female bees. But anyways, they have habits that make them manageable. So we can keep bees ourselves, or we can do what we do, and that is rent them from beekeepers. And they'll bring them in for just a few days normally. Martin, who you may have talked to down at the building, is our local beekeeper. He brought 10 hives in on Wednesday night, and they'll probably go home tomorrow night, and that'll be it for this year. But that's one of the ways that beekeepers can make a little extra money and get the honey. So so it's a win-win for them if it's nice pollination. Day like yesterday was perfect. There would have been lots of honey made. The bees had a chance to get out, visit under good conditions. They like it sunny, they like it warm. We were 27 degrees and pretty well full sun. So we had one great day. Blossom only lasts usually about 4 or 5 days, shorter if it's warm, but we only really need one really good day to pollinate everything in the orchard, provided we've got enough bees. So that's sort of the central theme for why we're here today. Some of the trees are already past peak blossom. These are Macintosh here. We'll walk by some varieties that have many more flowers on than these do, but it's always a little bit of a step-by-step thing. In order for the cross-pollination thing to work, the blossoms have to be open on the varieties that are complementary. So when we lay out the orchard and decide the time that they...
So Macintosh is same as Red Delicious?
No, they're good complementary pollinators, but they're a completely different apple. We don't grow many Red Delicious anymore. They're just not in demand. Honeycrisp is our most popular one. So the rows sort of to my left here are all Macintosh. That's a kind of a funny thing. So, but in terms, that's by far the best way to...
What we know about the pollination, we know the flower is male and female. So in apple also it's male or female?
Yeah. In this little cluster in the middle,
Yeah.
those are the male parts and the female parts.
Okay.
The female parts are the greener ones,
Okay.
and these ones here are the male parts with all the pollen on it.
Okay.
But this will not pollinate that. It's just one of the freaks of nature. So that's why we need pollen. This is a honeycrisp tree.
Yeah.
So if the bee happened to pick up some pollen from this tree, bring it over to this flower, we'd be all set.
But you said male and female both are here.
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
But still they can't.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly why.
Okay.
I'm hesitant to say that the female part is picky.
Okay.
But, for some reason, it just doesn't work.
Okay.
But if I got some pollen off this, then this would be the kind of pollen that would work. So if we could do that real quick and easy around the whole orchard, all 10,000 trees, then we'd be all set. But luckily, the bees have been partners in this for a long time, probably thousands of years, and eventually the system sort of worked out. So the bees like to live in the orchard because they know at least for a few days there's going to be a huge amount. So I would like all that cold air to end up in my neighbor's field over there, because he doesn't have any apple trees. And he doesn't plant his corn until much later. So if you are interested in becoming an apple grower, you want to look for a site that's a hill. You don't want to be down in a low spot, or probably most years you're not going to have very many apples. So when my dad found this farm in 1968, he knew what he was looking for. Almost the whole place is a nice gentle slope to the south, but this is the worst place, and that's why we have our wind machine here. And you never know exactly how something like this can work, but the manufacturer tells us that we could have an advantage of 2 or 3 degrees over an area of about 4 acres. And if you draw that sort of radius around here, that takes care of most of the trees that are in this low spot. The rest of the orchard is heating. They're planted in sections so that we get the pollination happening. So up the hill.
It's called a cold air drain.
Cold air drain.
Cold air drain.
Okay.
time I walked through here with the group about an hour ago, the weather was actually fairly nice. We had a little sunshine, and I thought the worst was over, and we actually saw a fair number of bees. So if we look closely now, you may see some kind of bee activity here. Unfortunately, today is not the perfect day, but there have been a few hardy ones. I see a few here. Sometimes the smaller bees and the bumblebees tend to work better in the weather that's kind of iffy. Honeybees seem to be a little bit wussy, a little bit lazy, and they need it to be a little bit nicer before they'll here. So well, to some degree. And Martin, the beekeeper, has told me that they're a little bit aggressive today, so we won't get too close.
First time इतनी सही चीज़ हमने को इंडिया में Oh, these are the bees.
So let's just keep on this side of the driveway here, folks. Not get too close to the hives. There are supposedly about 10,000 bees in each of those hives. So 10 times 10 is 100,000 bees that we've rented for a few days to kind of help out with this big job. Martin has traditionally used the wooden bee boxes like most beekeepers do, but he's got one hive there that's a new style, and he'd be happy to tell you more about it if you haven't already spoken with him. But that's made out of styrofoam, and I guess it's worked really well to keep the bees warm in the winter and keep them safe from the pests, bears. I don't know about bears, but mice and some of the other things are dangerous to bees in the wintertime, and that's what the hives look like, and not very busy because of the weather today. Yesterday, which was a beautiful day for pollination, this driveway here was like the 401 at 7 in the morning. Bees were coming and going back and forth, and we put all of our hives in one place because it does encourage them to go out. Usually what they do if they're in a situation where they know there's a lot of other bees, and it doesn't take them too long to figure that out, they'll kind of scout out the whole territory and then decide, what they're going to do for the day. It's amazing the way they strategize and all work together, and it really does seem to work that way, because if we came out here on a nice day when the bees were all out, you would definitely find a lot of bees on a tree like that. But if I went way over to the far corner of the orchard, I bet you'd find almost the same number of bees on those trees, just because the bees kind of figure it all out and decide how they're going to spend their day, and that's the way it works. I can, but I've had a little experience. It's a little hard to tell. This is a variety called Ida Red, and these are bigger, older trees. Hi, Brooklyn. Looks a little different than it did a week ago, eh? Yeah, things really change quickly when we get the right kind of weather. We had a couple of really warm days this past week, and what was this big, it was all of a sudden this big. And there's only about 10 feet between the rows, so you can get down there. The trees are very narrow. Where we're standing now is about 5 stories higher than where the wind machine was. So that's where this whole elevation thing kind of comes into place. If you're picking an orchard, pick a site on the top of the hill. So, yeah. That's a good question. It really depends on how you want the tree to respond.
can't do anything. Walk faster. Then you'll not be good. Walk faster. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a strain of pink called wild pink, and we do have some of those here. They're very late in the season, and we're not sure that they're really going to work here. But we've got 4 rows of them, and we're hopeful. When we plant a new variety, we're always taking a bit of a chance on whether they're going to perform the way they're supposed to, because every site is a little bit different. So something that might work beautifully down in Leamington might not work here at all. So one of the risks you take when they've got lots of bloom on them, and there's a little bit of a cult following for that one. Yeah, that's the bud name. So in the nursery, they take one bud.
Bloom back. This way. Bloom this way.
It's not. It just keeps the posts from wandering around. When we planted these, they were
Hey, look, wait. It's okay.
They're very
Yeah?
popular in the
Yeah.
early part of
It
the
is good
season.
honey.
And then we
I
just
didn't
added
know
a few
they
more
put
rows here
honey.
because we don't apply much fertilizer at all. It's already there. Ready to go. We're going to walk back down through those Portlands, like I said, and if you see a photo op, this would be a good time to do it. And we'll just kind of wind our way back down. So you can see if you look closely when we're walking along, there actually is a fair number of bees working in these trees. They're the smaller ones you don't notice right away, but there will be a few bumblebees here and there, and even though the petals are falling off now, these are one of the later blooming varieties. So by this time tomorrow, there's not going to be much left on the tree that's white.
Just take this video. Can you see the small bees, Abdullah? They're very small. They're flying here and there.
What sigma? La 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 lava, chicken. Steve lava chicken, yeah, tasty as hell. Ooh, mama shit tonight, I'm ringing the bell. Crispy and juicy, now we're having a snack. Ooh, super spicy, it's a lava attack. Overall, the experience was really good. I love to learn about pollination and I saw lots of honeybees. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.